Hello my little cherubs, how are you? I'm doing great. Oh, that's lovely. Rattler cider. Thought I'd treat myself. It's my day off tomorrow. It's not a school night, so I'm having a drink. So what am I going to do today? Right, again, sticking with the theme, cheap, low cost, low energy recipes. I'm going to make a low cost beef stew. Now usually when I make a beef stew, you know, I go all out. So I put lots of nice stuff in there, like red wine, nice cuts of meat, loads of vegetables, loads of herbs, loads of seasonings. And it actually can add up to be quite expensive. It's not really a cheap dish by any means, but I've got a cheaper, sort of cheats way of making a beef stew. It doesn't use expensive cuts of beef. It actually uses yellow sticker beef mince. I've got a bargain here. This was £2.74 for 750 grams. And I'm going to use all of this because I'm going to portion it up and, you know, put it in the freezer. But just because it's cheaper and there's less ingredients doesn't mean it can't be tasty. So stick with me, watch this video, and I'm going to show you how to make a beef stew for under a £5. And it'll feed your family, feed a family of 4, no problem. And if you're single, still make it because you can batch it up and freeze it. Now before we dive into this, please do the usual thing, like, share and subscribe. And as well, I'll put my email on the screen now. If you've got any ideas, any suggestions, send them my way. But anyway, get down here, I'm going to show you the ingredients we've got. So here we have all the ingredients for our cheap low-cost stew. Apart from a couple of bits, I'm going to put some bay leaves in there, obviously salt and pepper. Might stick a bit of Worcester sauce in there, use what you've got. What I'll probably do as well, like I did with the Pantry-demic series, is I'll kind of list some swap outs for you. So if you haven't got something, you can replace it with something else. So I've got a beef mince here, again, a bargain at £2.74 for 750 grams. I went to Sainsbury's just because it's my nearest, but you can go to any supermarket you like. And all it is, it's just vegetables that have come out of the ground like any other, but they're either too big or wonky or just, you know, strange shapes. So they don't go to the main range of vegetables, but what the supermarkets are now doing is bagging them up and selling them cheaper, because obviously you don't want them to go to waste. They're still perfectly fine, but you get them for a bargain price. These potatoes are 89p for all of them. That's like 2.5 kilos. Carrots here, they were 30p for that bag. Now I've got a swede here as well. If you live in Cornwall, that's going to be a turnip. If you live in America, it's a rutabaga. And I've also got the stock. Now, this is where you can make this as cheap or as expensive as you like. I use these because I refuse not to have these in my cupboard. These are my favourite pre-made stock. Now, all of this together came to £8 and 3 pence. Now, obviously, we're not going to use it all, so I think we can get this in under a £5. But shop around, you can get some cheaper deals. But what we're going to do now is get cooking. Okay, I'm going to show you the techniques to turn this stuff into something delicious. Now, first things first, I'm going to get this beef into this pan. I'm not going to turn it on yet, because we don't need to. Just a touch of oil, because again, we want to kind of keep the energy costs low. If I turn it on now, it's just wasting gas, isn't it? But I'm going to get it into the pan, ready to rock and roll. There we go. Flop. Now, there's two reasons I'm using beef mince. Firstly, because it's cheaper, but also it's not going to take long to cook, unlike if you're, say, using brisket, chuck, oxtail, or any other kind of beef that you would use in a stew. So again, we're reducing the cost of the energy because it's not going to cook as long. So it's going to take a lot less time. But anyway, I need to get on and chop this veg. I mean, look at the size of that, eh? So it's Valentine's Day today as well. But listen, you don't want to sit here and watch me chop all this up, so I'll see you in a second when it's done. Right, so I think it's chopped up, I think it's ready to go. Couple of pointers though. So what I've done with the carrots is I've sliced them sort of fairly thin. Because normally when I make a stew, I sort of like nice thick chunky pieces of carrot. But carrots take a long time to cook down and go soft. So by cutting them nice and thin, again, we're going to reduce the cooking time. Got some roughly chopped onion, got the swede, got the potato in there. I've just kept them in some water, that stops them from going brown. But what I am going to do is in my cupboard, I found this jar of Marmite. But basically in the bottom of there's a little bit of Marmite. There's not enough for me to have on my toast, but I don't want to waste it. So what I'm going to do is tip a little bit of this stock, put the lid back on, give it a shake. I'm going to leave that in there for a bit. That will soften up the little bit of Marmite that's left in there, and then I can chuck it in my stew. You don't have to do that, but I just thought, well, I don't want to waste it. And it's just going to add a nice extra umami boost. Also, veg peelings, the potato, the swede, the carrot, don't throw them away. I'm going to show you a nifty little trick to make these useful. Right, now I'm going to turn my pan on. Nice and high because I want to get this as hot as possible, as quickly as possible. I'm just going to start breaking this mince down and get some nice colour on it, nice and brown. As I've said a million times before, browning the meat is just super important. It gives the dish colour, but also crucially, it gives it flavour. So after a few minutes, I've got some nice colour on that mince, and I've turned the heat down like quite low now. So I've kind of done the job with the beef. In with the carrots and the onions. And I'm just going to add a little bit of the stock just to sort of lift off those bits from the bottom of the pan. Next I'm going to add my bay leaves, give them a smoosh, in they go. And a good old twist of pepper, plenty of pepper, goes really well with beef. Now usually with the onions I'd probably actually cook them separately, you know, nice and slow, get them caramelised, but you know, we're trying to sort of balance tasty food with low energy, low cost, so obviously I'm not going to do that, okay? And it will still taste delicious, don't worry. I'm not going to add any salt at this point, purely because there's going to be salt in the Marmite sort of solution that I've got, and also there's salt in the stock. Next thing I'm going to do is get these potatoes drained, and the swede as well. And in they go as well. Oh, this pot's not big enough. I knew it wouldn't be. I'll be right back, I'm going to transfer. Right, take two. Dear oh dear. Right, so I've got my little bit of Marmite solution here. Get that in there. Also the stock. And listen, you could like add whatever you like to this. You could add garlic in there if you've got it. You've got that shitty bottle of red wine that your distant cousin bought you for Christmas. And if that's at the back of the cupboard, stick that in. It will all taste great. Use what you've got. But it's packed full of veggies and goodness. Okay, so it just makes a little bit of meat go a long way. And I'm going to add a few dashes of Worcester sauce as well, just because I've got it. If you haven't got it, leave it out. You could also add a bit of soy sauce if you've got that instead. Just sort of boost that umami flavour. And then I'm just going to stick the lid on. So I'm going to bring that to the boil, then turn it down to a simmer. And that's going to take like an hour, maybe an hour and 15 minutes, but it's drastically less time than a sort of traditional beef stew. And tailor this to your circumstances and what you can afford. If you manage to pick up a bit more mince for a cheaper price, put the extra in. If you want less veg in it, use less. If you've got different veg like parsnips, you could put some cabbage in at the end, use that. And again, I will put some swap outs on the screen. So I'm going to give that about an hour and we'll see where we're at. But in the meantime, I'm going to show you what to do with these veg peelings. Don't waste them. Kitchen gold that, kitchen gold. Give them a good rinse, give them a wash. And I've got a pan of simmering water here. I'm probably going to have to do this in batches because the pan's not big enough, but just drop them in. Then I'm going to blanch these for 1 minute. Then after a minute, I'm going to take them out with my spider and plunge them into cold water. And once they're cool to the touch, we're going to drain them off. Then literally take a freezer bag, labelled it up, today's date and what it is, veg peelings, and just kind of get them in the bag. What is your problem, dude? You're not having any more food tonight. You have had enough. Always thinking of his belly. There we go, just seal that up, squeeze out the excess air, and just whack it in the freezer. And then remember last week when I showed you how to butter a chicken, we've got a couple of carcasses in there, and this will go with that chicken carcass to make a stock. Nothing is going to waste.
1 hour later.
Right, so our stew stroke broth stroke lovely thing is it's not far off. I would say about another 20 minutes. I'm just going to test it for seasoning, see if it needs any extra. Yeah, definitely needs salt. It's a good helping of that. I've also made up the dumpling mix, which I've got here. Listen, just follow the packet instructions. Now I'm going to make little ones, little diddy ones, little floaters. I'm going to sort of make them that size, but make them whatever size you like. Plop them in. The dumplings will help thicken it a bit as well. But look, if you want like a thicker sort of gravy consistency, you can mix up some corn flour, some water, put that in, it'll thicken it up. But I'm going to pop the lid back on and leave that for another 20 minutes till the dumplings are cooked. I suggest leaving it for a minute. It's like I always say, it's hotter than Satan's bum crack. Jesus. And I just topped it off with a little bit of salt and pepper. And I added a knob of butter to mine. I always do that to my stews and casseroles. It's delightful. It's really nice. It's warming, it's comforting, it's tasty, and it costs next to nothing. It's not restaurant food, it's not Michelin star food, but it's not meant to be. Packed full of flavour, lots of veggies in there, it's good for you, it's healthy, it's warming, delicious. What more do you want? And like I said before, like I said through the video, you can tailor this to your own circumstances. You've got some extra meat, chuck it in. You want to swap out the veg, do it. You've got some herbs kicking in the back of the fridge that need using up, chuck them in as well. Parsnips would be great in there, leeks. Although if you're going to put parsnips in, put them in at the last minute because they do turn to mush if you cook them too long. Come and say hello to everybody. They've missed you, you know. He's worked out now that when I get home, that's time for treats. You've got to realise, Sunshine, that, you know, you're not getting any younger, and that little ticker in there, we've got to take care of it because you don't get a new one when that one goes, do you? Yeah, I've been asking about you, they have. You know you are. Well, I'll get you something in a minute. But there we go. Simple to make, easy, cheap, delicious. Poor man's stew, low cost beef broth, whatever you want to call it. That's how you make it. Now please do the usual thing, like, share and subscribe, thank you very much. And like I said at the beginning, if you've got any suggestions, recipes, you want to ask me questions, you've got any money saving issues you want me to tackle in the kitchen, send them to my email address. Listen, I'm going to bugger off. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you next time.